The royal family is once again at the centre of global attention, and this time, the drama is unlike anything we've seen before. Before we get into the full story, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single update on this unfolding saga. Trust me, what's coming next will be just as dramatic. In a move that stunned not only Britain, but the entire world, King Charles III has officially stripped Camilla of the title of Queen Consort. To put this in perspective, no royal spouse in modern history has been publicly demoted in such a way. The weight of this decision cannot be overstated. It has already triggered chaos within the palace walls and ignited fierce debate among royal followers everywhere. This isn't just a matter of protocol, it is a complete rewriting of what many assumed was unshakable tradition. Sources say that the King's announcement came during a highly secretive emergency gathering at Buckingham Palace. Handpicked royals, most notably Princess Anne and Prince William, were summoned into what insiders describe as a hidden chamber, a private and heavily guarded space used only for matters of the utmost importance. The mood in the room was said to be tense and heavy as Charles delivered the shocking verdict. No questions, no debates, just a clear and final statement. Camilla would no longer hold the crown's second highest title. The reaction inside the palace was immediate and dramatic. Some staff members were left stunned into silence, while others broke into frantic whispers, racing to confirm what they had just heard. Reports suggest that even those closest to the inner circle did not see this coming. The speed and secrecy with which Charles moved caught everyone off guard, leaving the royal household scrambling to figure out how to handle the fallout. What could drive Charles to make such a drastic and unprecedented move? According to those familiar with the situation, this wasn't the result of a single event, but a slow build-up of tension over many months. Allegations had been quietly surfacing, accusing Camilla of crossing lines that royals typically avoid. Rumours circulated that she had been conducting private meetings with influential figures, making strategic moves and exerting influence behind the scenes. Actions that painted her as more of a power broker than a supportive consort. To Charles, this overreach was simply too dangerous to ignore. What began as whispers of discontent eventually turned into a stack of secret dossiers, each containing claims of meddling and ambition that shook the king's confidence. By the time the fateful meeting was held, Charles's mind was already made up. The decision wasn't just about Camilla's role, it was about safeguarding the very survival of the monarchy itself. For those who believed the monarchy had finally found its balance after years of turbulence, this decision is proof that the crown is still fragile and deeply vulnerable. In one swift act, Charles has not only reshaped the present, but also set into motion a chain of consequences that will define the future of the royal family for decades to come. This isn't just history being made, it's history being rewritten in real time. The fallout from King Charles's shocking decision did not stop at the palace gates. It exploded into a storm of accusations, secrets and revelations that are still rippling through the monarchy. While the official statement was cold and clinical, the backstory is far more dramatic, filled with whispers of betrayal, hidden documents and growing fears that Camilla had been quietly building her own sphere of influence. At the heart of this storm lies the accusation of overreach. Camilla, who once held the image of a supportive and steadying partner to the king, is now under scrutiny for allegedly crossing boundaries that no consort before her dared to tread. Reports suggest that for months she had been meeting privately with influential individuals, forging alliances and making decisions without the king's full knowledge. These weren't simple social gatherings, they were, according to insiders, strategic conversations aimed at shaping the monarchy's direction from the shadows. The revelations became even more explosive when a confidential dossier surfaced. This dossier, carefully compiled by palace aides and quietly circulated among the royals, painted a picture of a woman who was no longer content with the ceremonial role of Queen Consort. Instead, Camilla was allegedly manoeuvring for influence that stretched beyond her position. The most damning claim? That she had been working behind the scenes to secure privileges, recognition, and even possible titles for her children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. If true, this was nothing less than an attempt to build what critics are calling a parallel dynasty. For centuries, royal titles and privileges had been strictly guarded, typically reserved for bloodlines tied directly to the crown. To hear that Camilla may have been seeking to expand those privileges to her own children struck at the very heart of tradition. It wasn't just ambition, it was viewed as a challenge to the established order of succession. Behind the gilded walls of Buckingham Palace, the tension became unbearable. Every whisper, every rumour, every new revelation added fuel to the fire. Senior royals began to question whether Camilla was becoming a liability, not an asset, to the monarchy. What was once tolerated as minor overstep quickly grew into what the king himself viewed as an existential threat. By the time the dossier reached his desk, the decision to act was all but sealed. Those closest to the matter say Charles wrestled with the choice for weeks, torn between loyalty to his wife and his duty to the crown. But in the end, the monarchy always comes first. His dramatic act of stripping her title wasn't just about correcting behaviour, it was about drawing a hard line in the sand. It was his way of saying that the crown would not and could not be used as a stepping stone for outside ambitions. The result is a palace now divided, its atmosphere heavy with suspicion and mistrust. What started as whispers of Camilla's overreach has turned into a full-blown scandal, one that may reshape not only her legacy, but the very image of the monarchy itself. And as shocking as this is, the real drama lies in how the other royals have responded. When the dust began to settle inside Buckingham Palace, one question remained: where did the other senior royals stand in all of this? Would they close ranks around Camilla in solidarity? Or would they side with the king and distance themselves from her completely? The answer came swiftly, and it only added to the intensity of the drama. Princess Anne, often regarded as the monarchy's most loyal workhorse, reportedly gave her full backing to Charles. Known for her no-nonsense attitude and unwavering sense of duty, Anne is said to have supported the decision not just out of loyalty to her brother, but also from a conviction that the monarchy's survival depended on it. In her view, allowing a consort to extend influence beyond their role would be a slippery slope that threatened the crown's very stability. Then came Prince William, whose stance carried perhaps the greatest weight. As the direct heir to the throne, his opinion holds enormous influence both inside the family and with the public. According to sources close to the matter, William didn't hesitate to stand firmly with his father. For him, this wasn't just about Camilla, it was about safeguarding the monarchy's future for himself, for Catherine, and for their children. By backing Charles, William sent a clear message: the crown must remain above personal ambition, no matter the cost. Together, Anne and William's support gave Charles the reinforcement he needed to act decisively. Their unity created a wall of strength around the king, ensuring that his controversial decision could not be easily challenged from within the family. This alliance also signalled to the public that the move was not a rash or personal attack, but a carefully considered choice endorsed by those who represent both the present and the future of the monarchy. Outside the palace, however, reactions were anything but united. Public opinion quickly split down the middle, with Diana's supporters celebrating Camilla's downfall as long overdue justice. To them, this was a symbolic vindication of the late princess, whose shadow still looms large over the royal family. On the other hand, Camilla's defenders saw the decision as cruel, even ruthless. They argued that after years of service and dedication, stripping her of the Queen Consort title was nothing short of betrayal. The media, of course, pounced on the divide. Tabloids ran with sensational headlines framing the saga as a battle of legacies, Diana's enduring memory versus Camilla's embattled image. Broadcasters debated whether Charles had acted out of principle or pressure, while opinion pieces dissected every angle of palace intrigue. Within days, the story had dominated front pages, drawing global attention and reigniting old wounds the monarchy had worked so hard to heal. But amid the chaos, one figure began to shine brighter than ever before: Catherine, Princess of Wales. Her poise, her popularity, and her ability to connect with the public made her appear as the monarchy's stabilising force in a time of upheaval. Many began to describe her as Diana's spiritual heir, a bridge between the monarchy's troubled past and its hopeful future. While Camilla's reputation plummeted, Catherine soared, reinforcing the sense that the crown's destiny now rests squarely with William and his wife. For Charles, this alignment was both a relief and a risk. With Anne and William at his side, his authority was solidified. But by cutting off Camilla so publicly, he had opened the door to questions about just how strong, or fragile, the monarchy truly is in the modern age. And as the world watched, the palace moved to make the erasure of Camilla's role official. Once the king's announcement was made official, the palace wasted no time in carrying out what many are calling a symbolic erasure of Camilla's legacy. Step by step, her presence within the monarchy began to fade, as if she were being deliberately wiped from history. What started as whispers in the corridors quickly became undeniable reality. Her personal cipher, once proudly displayed on official documents, was removed without ceremony. Portraits featuring her as Queen Consort were quietly taken down from select palace walls. Even references to her title in internal communications began to vanish, replaced with more generic acknowledgements of her role as the king's spouse. For staff, it was a chilling signal Camilla's reign as Queen Consort was being not only revoked, but scrubbed from the monarchy's official memory. Observers noted that the process felt almost surgical. Every symbol, every piece of protocol tied to her former position was methodically dismantled. Palace insiders whispered that this was Charles's way of drawing a sharp line between past mistakes and future survival. If Camilla had once symbolised stability, she now represented risk, and the monarchy could no longer afford even the shadow of instability. The move sparked fierce debate outside the palace walls. Some commentators called it ruthless, an overcorrection that bordered on cruelty. After all, Camilla had spent years reshaping her image and carrying out public duties with loyalty. To see her name and image vanish so swiftly struck many as deeply personal, even vindictive. Others, however, argued that the cleansing was necessary to restore confidence in the monarchy. If the crown was to stand tall, it could not afford half measures or lingering associations with scandal. Meanwhile, the public divide grew sharper. Diana's long-standing supporters viewed the erasure as poetic justice. To them, it was as if history itself was correcting the record, finally acknowledging the pain and controversy that had surrounded Camilla from the beginning. Camilla's defenders, however, were outraged. They saw it as a betrayal of a woman who had weathered decades of hostility and still stood by Charles's side through some of his most difficult years. The media frenzy only amplified the drama. Television specials dissected the significance of removing Camilla's portraits, while newspapers splashed dramatic before and after images of palace halls suddenly stripped bare. Online forums buzzed with speculation about what this meant for Camilla's personal life, and whether she would retreat into seclusion or attempt to reclaim her place in the public eye. But perhaps the most striking part of this chapter lies in its unprecedented nature. Never before in modern royal history has a consort been stripped of a title and then so thoroughly erased from the official record. Historians and scholars warned that the decision set a dangerous precedent, one that could have far-reaching consequences for the monarchy itself. If a queen consort could be unmade in such a way, what other traditions could be rewritten in the future? For Charles, however, the risk seemed worth it. To him, the monarchy's survival depended on removing any trace of doubt, even if that meant cutting away part of his own legacy. Yet with every cipher removed, every portrait taken down, the message grew louder. The crown was moving forward without Camilla. The question now was whether the monarchy would emerge stronger from this purge, or whether it had only revealed just how fragile it truly is. As the dust settles, one thing has become abundantly clear. The monarchy now stands at a crossroads. Charles's decision to strip Camilla of her title may have been intended to protect the crown, but it has also exposed deep fractures within the royal institution. The repercussions are not only immediate but long-term, raising questions about tradition, power, and the monarchy's ability to endure in an era of relentless scrutiny. For King Charles, the act has secured a fragile victory. With Princess Anne and Prince William at his side, he demonstrated his authority and made clear that no individual, no matter how close, can be allowed to overshadow the institution itself. In doing so, he may have preserved the crown's dignity in the short term, but the move also came at an immense cost. The image of unity within the monarchy has been shattered, leaving observers to wonder how long such fractures can be papered over before they cause lasting damage. For Camilla, the outcome has been nothing short of devastating. Once elevated to the second highest position in the monarchy, she now finds herself isolated, her legacy dismantled piece by piece. Friends and defenders insist she will weather the storm with quiet dignity, but the reality is clear. Her place in royal history has been rewritten, and not in her favour. Where she once stood as Queen Consort, she now stands as a cautionary tale of how quickly power and status can be taken away. For William and Catherine, however, this upheaval has only strengthened their position. United, composed, and increasingly popular, they have emerged as the face of the monarchy's future. Catherine, in particular, has become a beacon of stability and connection, embodying the grace and accessibility that many believe the crown desperately needs to survive in the modern world. Together, the Prince and Princess of Wales now carry the hopes of not just the institution, but of a public yearning for renewal. Beyond the palace walls, the public remains divided. For some, Charles's bold act was a necessary defence of tradition. For others, it was a ruthless betrayal that revealed the monarchy's cold and unforgiving side. Scholars warn that the precedent set here could haunt the crown for generations. If even a Queen Consort can be stripped of her title and erased from official records, then what truly are the limits of royal power, and how much faith can the public place in an institution that rewrites its own rules when it sees fit? The monarchy, as it has so often in the past, faces a moment of reckoning. Will this crisis mark the beginning of a stronger, more united royal family, led by William and Catherine? Or will it serve as a reminder that the crown, for all its grandeur, is more fragile than it appears? One thing is certain, history is unfolding before our very eyes, and the decisions made today will echo through the halls of royalty for generations to come.